Some of you haven't been touched in months, some in years, and you're starting to wonder if the marriage is already over. Let's go there, not to shame you, not to expose you, but to finally speak the truth you've been carrying alone in the dark. Stay with me until the end, because intimacy doesn't just affect your marriage, it affects your identity, your peace, your faith, and the way your heart understands love. God was never silent about intimacy. He spoke boldly, clearly, without embarrassment. The husband should fulfill his marital duty to his wife, and likewise the wife to her husband. 1 Corinthians 7:3. Let each one of you love his wife as himself, and let the wife see that she respects her husband. Ephesians 5:33. I belong to my beloved, and his desire is for me. Song of Solomon 7:10. Let your fountain be blessed, and rejoice in the wife of your youth. Be intoxicated always in her love. Proverbs 5:18-19. These are not suggestions. They are God's blueprint for connection. Before we go deeper, write this quietly as your first prayer. Comment, Lord, teach us how to love again. Now breathe. Because this is where it gets real. When intimacy dies, the body notices, but the soul bleeds first. The silence becomes louder than any argument. The distance grows without announcement. You go from lovers to coexisters, to quiet strangers sharing the same home, but not the same heart. You stop asking for touch because the rejection hurts more than the absence. You stop expressing needs because it feels humiliating. You stop reaching out because you're tired of being the only one reaching. And secretly, you begin to mourn a marriage that's still alive but no longer breathing. But here is the truth few dare to say out loud. A marriage without intimacy is a marriage without emotional oxygen. You can survive without many things, but not without connection, not without affection, not without the reassurance that the person who vowed to love you still sees you. This is why we must open a real discussion in the comments. Honest, raw, respectful, not drama, not blame, but truth. You'd be shocked how many people are living your exact struggle, but too afraid to say it out loud. Tonight, let honesty be the first step toward healing. Your story might become someone else's breakthrough. Intimacy rarely dies in one moment. It fades in layers, almost invisibly, like dust collecting in corners, until suddenly the whole room feels heavy. For some, it began with exhaustion. For others, emotional neglect. For others, trauma. For others, silent resentment pressed down year after year until the heart hardened without meaning to. But the greatest tragedy is this. Most couples don't realize the intimacy is dying until they can no longer feel each other's souls. It starts with shorter conversations, then shorter hugs, then shorter glances, then shorter moments of affection, then days without touch, then months without desire, until one day you realize you've gone so long without feeling wanted that you don't even know how to ask anymore. Some of you lie in bed next to a person who feels galaxies away. Some of you wake up wondering who this version of your spouse even is. Some of you sit across the dinner table in silence, hoping they'll reach for your hand, knowing they won't. And you start questioning everything. Is there something wrong with me? Did I change? Am I still lovable? Was I ever enough? Are they bored with me? Tired of me? Repulsed by me? Please hear this. Your worth was never built on someone else's desire. Your beauty does not die because someone stopped noticing it. Your value does not decrease because someone stopped reaching for you. Sometimes the person pulling away is carrying wounds you cannot see. Sometimes they are spiritually dry. Sometimes emotionally overwhelmed. Sometimes ashamed. Sometimes numb. Sometimes silently hurting in their own way. This is why God's design requires two hearts, not one desperate heart trying to keep the marriage alive alone. But intimacy can be rebuilt. Tenderness can return, hearts can soften, desire can awaken again, but only when both are willing to acknowledge the distance. Let's make this a place of healing. If you feel strong enough, share one part of your story in the comments, not for validation, but so someone reading knows they're not the only one living this silent heartbreak. Half of healing is discovery, the other half is honesty. Every marriage reaches a defining moment. A moment where the pain becomes too loud to ignore and too deep to minimize. A moment when you realize intimacy is not just a want, it is a need. A covenant need. A spiritual and emotional need woven into the very design of marriage. In many marriages, the breaking point happens when one partner stops initiating, stops responding, or stops caring, and the other partner starts carrying the weight of both hearts, both desires, both needs alone. Being the only one trying is a form of heartbreak no one talks about enough. There is a specific pain that comes from loving someone who no longer touches you. There is a specific loneliness that grows in a cold marriage. There is a specific ache that comes from wanting someone who treats you like an obligation instead of a desire. You begin to wonder, how did we get here? Why doesn't my spouse want me? Why don't they see that I'm starving for the smallest sign of affection? It affects your confidence. It affects your sleep. It affects your prayer life. It affects your identity. It affects your mental health. It affects your ability to feel safe in your own relationship. This is where marriages either break down or break open. Breaking down leads to bitterness, fantasy, mental withdrawal, emotional shutdown. Breaking open leads to honesty, tears, courage, and conversations that are uncomfortable but necessary. Here, in the middle of this message, let us pause for our second CTA, the middle one, because this is the turning point. Comment, Lord, reopen what has been closed. Not every heart stays closed forever. Not every marriage stays cold. Not every season stays silent. God has resurrected things far colder and more hopeless than the intimacy you've lost. If you're willing, share one lesson you've learned about love, distance, or healing. It may guide someone who has no idea where to start. Sometimes your pain becomes someone else's map. Can a marriage without intimacy survive? The honest answer is yes, but not by ignoring the problem. Not by pretending everything is fine. Not by spiritualizing neglect. Not by minimizing the ache. Not by pushing your needs into silence. It survives when two hearts finally decide to confront what's been avoided. The truth is this: intimacy issues are rarely about physical desire alone. They are almost always connected to something deeper. A wound that hasn't healed. A fear that hasn't been spoken. A resentment that hasn't been acknowledged. A disappointment that hasn't been addressed. A spiritual dryness that hasn't been restored. A pressure that hasn't been released. Many couples think they're dealing with a bedroom issue, but they're actually dealing with emotional distance, unresolved arguments, dissatisfaction, stress, lack of safety, past hurt, misunderstanding, or even simple neglect, the slow forgetting to nurture what once felt effortless. But here's the good news. What died slowly can be revived slowly. What was neglected can be nurtured back to life. What was cold can be warmed. What was lost can be found. What was shut can be reopened. What was silent can speak again. You'd be amazed how many marriages were one conversation away from revival, one apology away, one confession away, one moment of vulnerability away. Open a discussion in the comments, not to blame, not to vent hatred, but to share wisdom, experience, and the steps that helped you rebuild connection after losing it. Honesty doesn't destroy marriages, silence does. When intimacy dies, resentment becomes the shadow that follows every interaction. It's subtle at first, a sigh, a sharp tone, a cold shoulder, a withdrawn spirit. But over time, resentment becomes armor, a wall, a shield, a silent war between two people who love each other but no longer feel safe with each other. Resentment whispers, "You don't see me. You don't value me. You don't choose me. You don't want me. You don't hear me." But resentment isn't born from hatred. It is born from pain, from unmet needs, from repeated dismissal, from loneliness not acknowledged, from affection withheld, from a heart that kept trying until trying started to feel degrading. Some of you are living in this silent battlefield. You still love your spouse, that's why it hurts so much. You still want them, that's why the distance feels unbearable. You still dream of closeness, that's why the coldness feels like betrayal. What you're feeling is not weakness, it's a sign that your heart is still alive. And here is a divine truth many forget. God heals hearts before he heals marriages, because the marriage cannot revive until the hearts inside it revive. Let's open space for wisdom in this community. If you've ever come back from resentment, tell someone how you did it. Did you seek counseling? Did you pray together? Did you restart communication? Did you confront the silence? Did you rebuild affection step by step? Your insight might be the lifeline someone else needs. And remember, resentment is not permanent. It is a symptom, not a destiny. Revival or ruin. Every marriage that loses intimacy eventually reaches this crossroad. It's the moment where the heart whispers, "I can't keep living like this." But the soul whispers, "I don't want to lose them." This tension, this sacred tension, is where God does his deepest work. Because God is not intimidated by dead places. He specializes in resurrection. He restores communication where there was silence. He restores desire where there was numbness. He restores tenderness where there was hardness. He restores unity where there was distance. He restores connection where there was disappointment. God can breathe life into what feels emotionally dry, spiritually empty, or relationally cold, but he invites both hearts to participate, not perfectly, but willingly. Here is the truth many miss. Intimacy is not just a physical act, it is a spiritual language. And when that language dies, your marriage feels deaf. But once that language revives, your marriage begins to breathe again. So here, at the end of this message, after all the honesty, all the pain, all the revelation, we arrive at the final prayer. Whisper it, type it, believe it. Comment, "Lord, restore what we stopped fighting for." And as you write it, know this. Your marriage is not beyond hope. You are not too far gone. Your heart is not too damaged. Your connection is not beyond recovery. Your intimacy is not permanently dead. Even if you feel like strangers, God rebuilds strangers. Even if you feel distant, God bridges distance. Even if you feel cold, God ignites warmth. Even if you feel detached, God reconnects what the world says is lost. And if you are hurting, confused, or seeking guidance, share your story in the comments. Not for pity, not for attention, but for healing, for clarity, for community. Your words may become someone else's miracle. Your story may become someone else's hope. Your honesty may become someone else's map back to connection. Tonight, may the God who restores broken bonds touch your home, your heart, your intimacy, your communication, and the place where love once lived. This is not the ending. This is the beginning of revival.